Welcome back to Studio 125. It's a Tuesday night, so you know what that means. We are ready to debate all things fall sports. What happened to volleyball in the Charm City Challenge? Why did rugby have a tough weekend? And we break out a new segment for all things soccer. All that and more on Bobcat Breakdown. Welcome back. I'm your host, Aiden Barrett. Alongside me, I have two soccer beat reporters, Shannon Tierney and Roberta Castillos. How you guys feeling tonight?
I'm feeling great, Shannon. How about you?
I'm feeling great. It's always an honor to get to debate you at this.
3 years in a row.
3 years in a row. We're on year 3, the three-peat between the two of us. Yeah. I think I've won every time.
I was going to say the same thing, so you're definitely wrong. But yeah, let's get it going.
We'll see you tonight.
This past weekend, the volleyball team took place in the Charm City Challenge. The Bobcats matched up against UMBC, Maryland, and Howard. Unfortunately, the Bobcats dropped all 3 contests. Guys, how much concern is warranted as they head into MAC play this weekend, starting off with a date with St. Peter's?
Ladies first.
You can go ahead.
Thank you. So I would not be too concerned if I was head coach Kyle Robinson. I think, the teams that they were facing at the Charm Cities Challenge, UMBC, Maryland, Howard, I think these are very different opponents than the ones that they're going to be facing the MAC. They're coming back home. They're coming back to Hamden, their own home court. This is where they're comfortable, and they're playing a team they're also much more comfortable in St. Peter's, which is a MAC team. So I don't feel too discouraged going into this weekend if I'm the team. If anything, I think this stretch of losses against much stronger teams will show the team their own weaknesses and what they need to be working on in practice headed into MAC play. So I think it's something they shouldn't dwell on.
Yeah, I agree. I still believe in this team. I think they're going to have a good season in the MAC. Yeah, and to start off this weekend, I think they're going to go ahead and win against St. Peter's. They're 11-5 all time against St. Peter's, and they beat them 3-0 the last time that they met last season. Quinnipiac did struggle and has struggled in the out-of-conference game to start the season, but so has St. Peter's. St. Peter's also has only 1 win in the season, and like you touched on a little bit, Quinnipiac has faced far more difficult and tough opponents, like they did in the Charm City Classic. I feel like this is the perfect time for Quinnipiac to start strong and start building momentum. Like in the preseason poll, Quinnipiac was picked to finish second in the MAC. St. Peter's was picked to finish last. So I think we're going to get to see a little bit of that come to fruition come this weekend, and I think the Quinnipiac is going to start off in the right foot.
Agreed.
Volleyball 1-8 now. Coach Robinson has stayed positive. Seems like you guys are too. What do they need to do to change the script?
I'll take this one. I think it all starts in the defense. I think better defense all around, and more specifically, better defensive positioning that will allow them to get to their blocking assignments. This team has had its issues following even before this weekend in the Charm City Classic. They've been outblocked in 4 straight games, including they were outblocked by Howard that hadn't won a single game coming into the game. They were outblocked 13-1. As Eric Kerr, beat reporter for this team, told me, if there's no blocking, there's not going to be a lot of winning at the same time. So this lack of defense or lack of good positioning and good communication inside the court is what lets teams that are maybe not as good to stay in games, to remain in games, and then they can pull out upsets. So better defensive positioning, better communication, get there and do those blocks, and I think this team is going to start getting better.
I mean, you basically just listed all of the issues that I've also been seeing with the team.
There
so
you go.
I think all that coach can do is just highlight those issues, know that that's an issue with the team, and work on it. There's no need to dwell on the record that they have going into MAC play. Now is when it gets important. Let's not dwell on these losses. Let's figure out what's wrong and go and win.
Exactly.
And that's how you flip the script.
And that's what this non-conference games are for.
Yeah.
To learn, to get better, to figure out what's wrong. And then
For any of these sports.
Yeah, exactly.
Rugby lost to Dartmouth 50-10. Shut out in the first half. Some good things in the second half. Put up 10 points, but just too little too late. Do you think this is the norm for the rest of the season, or do you think rugby can still turn it around?
I think they have the chance of turning it around. I think it's still early in the season. What I think it's saying is that Quinnipiac is not the name that they once were in rugby. I remember when we got to school here our freshman year, Quinnipiac Rugby was a big national name. And I think losses like this in just the past few years, they are kind of just showing everyone that they are not that name anymore. But you can look at that from the negative side, or you can look at it in a positive way and take that underdog mentality and run with it. It's better to be underestimated than have teams riled up to play you. So now they've been getting the best of every team, I feel like, these past few years, because people have been wanting to just play Quinnipiac and beat the national champions. Now they have not been the national champions anymore, and they haven't been as good as a team. So instead of dwelling on that, I think now's the time to just run with that and take that underdog mentality full swing and start winning games.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's too early to tell. And yes, a loss like this, it obviously doesn't look well on paper, but it's still early, and Dartmouth is a really, really good team. We also have to keep in mind, this team has played 4 games since 2019. That is very few games in such a long period of time. Obviously, this team is going to be out of sync. A lot of underclassmen on this team have barely played together. It was only their 5th time, and they're about to enter the 5th game where they've been able to play together. So this team needs time to be cohesive, for players to understand each other and to start gelling into a good competitive team. Also, yeah, they did get shut out in the first half, but as Becky Carlson said in her post-game press conference, Quinnipiac was inside Dartmouth's 20 2 or 3 times during the first half. They were not able to punch it in. So I think these little mistakes are gonna get cleaned up, and they might not beat Dartmouth. I'm not saying they're gonna win it all, but I think they can be more competitive, and I think that we're gonna be able to see that coming in the future.
Much more of a season left to play.
Yeah, a lot.
Good points from both of you right there. But let's turn our attention to field hockey this weekend. The Bobcats were outshot 17-3 to Lafayette, completely dominated in every facet of play. Does this speak more to Quinnipiac or just show how dominant Lafayette can be?
I mean, I do think that there are some games in sports where the matchup is just so not on the same level where it's like they don't even stand a chance. To me, none of those shots that they had also were on goal. If you don't have shots on goal, you can't win any sports game.
Yep.
So it's hard for me to say that it was just Lafayette just being that good when Quinnipiac isn't even getting shots on goal. How are you even going to win?
I don't like it that I'm agreeing with you in every single question, because I also think it's more about Quinnipiac in this case, because this is something that has followed them not only for this game or for this weekend, but they haven't been able to be that offensively powerful at all. They don't intimidate anybody. They had great chances on the breakaway in both games, and they just couldn't convert. 11 penalties. Only 2 from Lafayette. That's also something that obviously you're playing on the back foot. It's going to be very difficult to create chances. So I think a little good spark was first-year Amelia Massarelli. She got 13 shots, still no goals, or 1 goal, excuse me. But still, it's going to be very difficult for this young team. It will come Big East play. But she's a little a glimmer of hope, so to speak, for the future, just for her first year. But overall, they don't score a lot. Only 6 goals in all their games last year, albeit a shortened season. But yeah, it's Quinnipiac, and it's a problem that's been dragging on for a while.
They've had a lot of struggle finding success in the Big East ever since they've been in the Big East, and it has not seemed like they've found any sort of groove, and I have not seen the end in sight of them just performing well in the Big East.
Yeah, hopefully they get a better season, be more competitive, maybe not even reach 500. They have never reached 500 in Big East, but yeah, the struggles, obviously, it's a team that's not going to be at the top of the list, of the table of the Big East, but I'm confident that there is going to be improvements.
It's time to take a break, but don't go anywhere as we discuss all things soccer and bring you a new segment of all things soccer. We will be right back.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
What What do you think you're doing, Kevin?
Was just gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
Like hearing voices?
Like your text-to-emoji ratio?
Oh man, the selfies.
Selfie, nailed it.
We all have warning signs that let us know that we're probably not okay to drive. Mine is pretending to be your subconscious.
Craig, come on man, let's split a ride home.
Multiple studies have shown that marijuana can slow both driver reaction and response time, which can be really dangerous. It's here. It's here. Wait. What? I can't drive. Why? My. Oh.
Welcome back. Thanks for sticking with us. For the first time this year, we will break out the whiteboards to compare answers about women's soccer. Let's start with who you think is going to be the biggest X factor to the team. Roberto, Salas, or Cook?
I have Rebecca Cook as the most important player for this women's soccer team. She's started the season on fire. She has 7 goals in just 5 games, along with 2 assists. She was the preseason player of the year, 2-time offensive player of the week, rookie of the year last year. So I think Rebecca Cook arrived at Quinnipiac to fill that piece of the puzzle that is so desperately needed. Yes, Selena Salas is great, I agree. She's an incredible playmaker. She's great with the ball, great technique. She can pick out passes everywhere. But for her first 2 years here at Quinnipiac, she had absolutely no one to feed the ball to. This was why I think Rebecca Cook is that much important, because she's the player that is finishing off those chances, and she can create chances on her own. She doesn't need that provider. She can create plays and opportunities for herself completely alone. I think she's a difference maker, and I think that with this more offensive style that Quinnipiac has been playing over the last 2 seasons, she just gains even more significance, and her role is just that much more important. So I think it's Rebecca Cook.
I almost erased my board just so that I could argue with you.
I can't believe this is happening.
But I guess I agree with you. But I mean, it's hard to not with someone like Rebecca Cook. I remember the first time I saw her play last year. I was amazed within the first minutes of watching her play, because she's that just electric of a player. She's such a fun player to watch. Again, you brought up her 7 goals versus Salas has 4. Both of them have 2 assists, which I think assists are very important. And you also, to bring up more stats, she has 20 shots, 14 shots on goal. So to just have someone on the team, like you said, that can just have those opportunities, whether it be somebody else feeding her the ball, or just even more importantly, the fact that she makes them on her own, I think she's a very important player for this team.
I agree, and Selena Salas is great, but
I think it's great that they have the both of them, and not just one talented person. They have Salas to feed her the ball, and they can both create great opportunities.
Exactly, I agree.
This season has just begun, which means there might be a player playing a little bit under the radar. Soon boom. Shannon, who do you think that player is?
So I am going with Paige LaBerge. And I talked about this a little bit on Sports Pause last night. This answer is basically from Dave Clark himself. I would be surprised if Rob disagreed with me unless he was falling asleep in the press conferences.
Okay,
because
no need for that.
Dave Clark basically told us this last year to watch out for Paige LaBerge, that she wasn't doing too much yet, but she was still in her first year here. She is a junior, but she transferred from Florida State her freshman year. So she's still getting used to the team here. She's still getting used to the environment. She's getting used to playing up here. And last year she didn't have those pre-MAC games that we were talking about earlier with volleyball, where you just get your feet wet. So now that she has those, and she's already performing, she already got the game winner against Fordham on Sunday. I think that Dave Clark told us to watch out for her. She's already showing up, and I think that she's someone that you should really watch out for.
I think that's a great answer, but I think a better one. Yes, Dave Clark has talked to us a lot about Paige LaVerge and how she's just going to show up at some point and is going to be big. But I'm going to not really listen to what he says, but more at what he does. And Courtney Chokol has been getting a lot of playing time since last year. I think last year she scored a goal and an assist. This year already she has 2 goals and 1 assist. She's a very, very powerful and physical player, especially when she's on the ball. She goes perfectly well with Rebecca Cook when they're up front. Last year they almost played almost every time at the same time because I think they have a great understanding from one another. She has that smell for goals. She's always making the runs. She's always trying to get inside the box to be dangerous, to create chances. She's always very incisive, always trying to get at other players at the opposition, go at them one-on-one and try to win those 1v1 matchups. I think she's a really, really good option for Quinnipiac's attack, especially for Selena Salas to feed the ball to, and especially if Emily Loney is not going to get a lot of playing time. I think that Courtney Chokol is going to continue to have good minutes, and she's going to be great for the team this season.
Don't know if I would say she's been flying under the radar, but again, I'm just going to go with what Coach
The same as Paige
Clark
LaVerge.
says. I think she definitely has been.
Megan Phillips has been beat at least once in the past 3 games. What's going on with the Bobcats defense? Roberto?
I think it's all been because they hold on a second. They haven't had. There's no reason to worry. First of all, let me start with that. No reason to worry. That was the question. I'll answer it. And it's all because we have to turn the expectations that Megan Phillips put up so high in her first year. We have to become a little bit more realistic because this is a completely different team. Mackenzie Thibault and Kylie Lance are both gone, which were the 2 central defenders from that team that were basically unpassable during that whole season. She's just getting back to form as well. We have to remember that last year she barely played during the season, so this is her first real test of what is gone. And it's not like they've been horrible defensively. They've played 5 games. They allowed 4 goals. That's not really that bad. And Katie Schwartz hasn't played. It's a backline that hasn't really played together that much. New faces, different positions, still experimenting. So I think that comeback play, it's going to look a lot better, and I think she's going to do a lot better too.
Yeah, I mean, we know Coach Clark. We didn't get to see this last season, but he is someone that is very experimental when it comes to the pre-MAC games. So it is even hard to judge how the defense is going to be when he's still experimenting out different things. But I would not send any blame over Megan Phillips' way. I mean, goals are going to be scored.
Yeah.
She had 2 shutouts already this year. It's still, again, pre-MAC. I would not ring any alarm bells yet.
And I think that
Phillips.
compared to her first year, this time they don't need her to be that superhero on goal. There's a team that scores a lot more than they did when she first got
Miles
here.
more.
So I think that
This is a team plus Rebecca Cook.
exactly,
Yeah.
and I think the pressure will be less for her to show up big.
Last question of the night with the whiteboards. Shannon, the Bobcats are 5-0. What's clicking so well for this group?
Well, I feel like me and Rob have kind of already highlighted a little bit, but scoring. And this is an area that I've been saying Quinnipiac has been needing to improve on for years now, and it just seems to finally be clicking for this team as they already have 17 goals. And just offense in general just seems to be clicking for Quinnipiac so much more. Quinnipiac member has won a MAC Offensive Player for now 3 weeks in a row. And I just think it's a great thing for this team that it's not just one player scoring these goals. Yes, Cook has the majority of them. She has 7 goals, but it's Cook, it's Salas, it's Chokol, it's LaBerge. There's not just one singular player that defenses will know we need to shut this person down and we can beat this team. Kind of like how some of the men's teams used to view Eamon Whalen.
Yeah.
It was just shut him down because he was such a strong force. I love the dynamic of this offense, and I think it's going to be really hard for teams to defend this forward line.
I agree. I agree 100%. However, I think that it's more than just scoring. I think the key players have shown up to start the season. I think that players from Rebecca Cook, Selena Salas, but even in the midfield with Markela Bailey and Olivia Scott, they're so good at what they do in that midfield. And in the back, Kayla Mangachu stepping into a more of a leadership role in that defense. And I just think that this feels like a culmination of a process that Dave Clark started a while ago, and he finally is starting to get the team that he really wants. I think recruitment has been fantastic, especially over the last 3 to 4 years when they've gotten players of quality that they really didn't have at all before when you really think about it on the senior class of years prior. So I think that this is just a really great team, and to start the season with your key players performing as well, that's a good sign.
A lot of excitement in women's soccer, but let's turn to the men's now. 4-0 so far this season, best record here since 2007. How well is this team playing? Are they really legit?
I think they are. I think they're a top team with top players in this conference. I think Brad Gasson, to start with, I loved him when he was in his first year. I think he was under the radar that year, but now I think he's jumped out to become arguably the best player in the entire MAC. This is a team with experience, talent, and a very complete midfield with Simon Hillinger, Deja Durich, and Paulo Suarez. Those three seniors in that midfield, in that engine room, are so pivotal to that team. I think that also having a backline of Luke Allen and Henry Weigand behind them that are so solid and so compact gives him a really, really good edge. I just think that there's very few holes in this team. It's a team that is prepared to make another deep run, and I think that's just where it starts and where it ends.
I'm starting to think you looked at my notes, Rob. The one person I would say that you didn't bring up that I would have brought up is Thomas Pikula. I think is another great key player for this team.
Yep.
I think him and Brog Austin specifically are two players that I wanted to highlight that I think they kind of really, we didn't know the direction of this team when Whalen left, and obviously last year the season was it was hard to see how the team was actually going to be. We didn't have those pre-MAC games, but I think Brog Austin and Thomas Pikula are really starting to step up as being like those key goal scorers that this team is going to need to be able to finally maybe win the MAC and not just get second place.
Because that's the expectation, and not obviously Pikula is a great mention. That thank you for mentioning that, because of course, but even first year, Sam McCann scored a goal, rookie, contributing. It's good to see that this team is firing on all cylinders. Exactly.
It's time to take our final break of the night. Don't go anywhere, though. When we come back, we will have our final roars.
When we adopt a shelter pet, we discover they're a unique mix of all kinds of things.
Come on, Jules, spot me on this last one. There it is. Keep going with it. Leo.
They're a little bit of a lot of things, but they're all pure love.
I know what you're thinking. I need a job. I need a new career.
Well, I've been there.
I've been there.
I've been there. I wasn't happy with what I was doing.
After high school, I didn't have a plan.
I just wanted to start working. I got laid off twice, but you gotta keep going.
You just need the right skills. Find an apprenticeship.
I found a 2-year IT program.
I found a medical course online.
I'm now a consultant in the tech space.
You have more options than you think. You can do this.
You will find something.
You will find something new.
Maybe you can make retirement happen. After all, you made home ownership happen. Homeschooling yourself on loans, beefing up your credit score.
So I'm pre-approved.
You were like, yes! Sorry. Color coding listings, ticking boxes, and flushing every toilet in a 20-mile radius. Home sweet home. You aced House Hunter. Now get the tips you need to get on track at aceyourretirement.org.
Now it's time for final awards. Roberto, start us off.
Everyone here at Quinnipiac misses packing the People United Center to see a hockey or baseball or basketball team play. The atmosphere in the arena, the deafening noise anytime there's a Bobcat score or a big play. Those cold winter nights are something we should all be looking forward to. However, the roar of the crowd whenever there's a big soccer game here in the Quinnipiac Soccer and Lacrosse Stadium is just as powerful. Last spring, the Quinnipiac men's and women's soccer team lost at home to end their season. A semifinal exit for the women's team and a second MAC championship game loss in 3 years for the men's team put an end to a season of uncertainty. This year, both Quinnipiac soccer teams look set to make deep playoff runs in the MAC. The women's soccer team is one of the best shows on campus, a team filled with electrifying players that play a fast-paced, technically beautiful attacking style of soccer. The men's team is, in simple terms, a juggernaut, a well-oiled machine with high-quality players in every position and a senior core ready to end their careers with a championship. A deserved coronation for one of the most consistent teams in the university over the last 5 years. The expectation this season, Quinnipiac has built 2 excellent programs that will be on full display this fall. As you wait for hockey and basketball season to start, keep an eye on these 2 teams as they try to put the heartbreak of the past to bed in the pursuit of a championship.
In March of 2020, I was living in LA for the semester. Months before going out there, I'd purchased Bruins tickets to be able to see one of my favorite teams play on the other side of the country. The entire trip, I was so excited to go to this game. Then just 3 days before it ended, the entire world got shut down, including the NHL. I had no idea when I'd be able to attend a live sports game again. No one did for a while. And this summer, I was finally able to be back in a crowd at one of the most iconic sports venues in America, Fenway Park. As I ate overpriced concessions food and sang Sweet Caroline in the 8th inning, I felt nothing but pure joy to be back watching sports in person. And it made me so excited to get back here to Quinnipiac and be able to attend games again, especially in the People's United Center, where we get to see Bobcat Nation in full force. My favorite memory of freshman year was watching the men's ice hockey team defeat the then top-ranked UMass at the People's United Center. My friends and I had so much fun at the game that right when the game ended, we bought tickets to the Bobcats game that was happening the next day in Amherst and drove up to Massachusetts in the middle of finals week. Perks of being a comp student. Nevertheless, I'm so excited for Quinnipiac students to be able to actually attend games for all sports this year, especially the underclassmen who have never been able to experience the true culture of sports here at Quinnipiac, because Bobcat sports are not the same without Bobcat Nation.
I never thought I would take my first college class in pajamas. I didn't think that a 13 by 15 inch screen would become school, but that was a reality my freshman year in college. Yeah, you know what? You guys probably don't want to hear another COVID story. The Quinnipiac men's ice hockey team welcomed in 10 new players. After 27 years under the helm, Rand Pecknell took 1 graduate student. In year 28, he went with 5. The Bobcats added a bona fide #1 center, Oliver Cha, and a top-end defenseman from top-end goaltender from Notre Dame, Dylan St. Cyr. And on defense, Quinnipiac will bring in standout defenseman from Denver, Grinvid Mendel, to play alongside Zach Metza. With the new additions, the Bobcats will look to make for an exciting year on York Hill in person. See you there. That's all the time we have for tonight. Make sure to check out our website at q30tv.com and visit our Twitter at Q30Sports. From the producers to everyone behind the scenes, from myself, Shannon, and Roberto, we thank you for joining us on Bobcat Breakdown tonight. Good night, guys.